Welcome, everybody. It's Monday, September the 5th, 2022, or Tuesday, September the 6th. And this is Jim, almost flying
And
solo. Jory is snuck in here at the very beginning of the call. Do you want to just say hello, Jory?
yeah, that was the only reason why I snuck in to say hello, but my brain is already so exhausted this late at night that I don't know what else is going to happen other than just showing up, especially for me anyway. I'm just showing up. And I would say I'll be gone in about 10 minutes and asleep in about 20.
I'm glad you stopped by to say hello to everybody.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm on the East Coast right now, supporting family, and I'll be back next week.
Yeah. Hi, Patricia. Welcome. Hi, Isabel. Hey,
Mhm.
Rob. So the class today is called Expressing What's Alive. So we're going to continue our series that we've been working on as we've been building skills to have dialogues when they really matter. And today we will work on expressing our honesty. And also we will cover another kind of request that really helps to support connection when we're in the process of having a meaningful dialogue with somebody. So if you're here for the very first time, I'm really happy that you've decided to join us. It's always a little bit of a mystery to me how people find us, but I'm really glad when you do. And this is a practice group in nonviolent communication. And so we really emphasize the practice element. We will have lots of different chances to practice today, including practicing just with yourself with a self-connection exercise, a way to practice nonviolent communication as a self-empathy tool. And there'll also be small groups where you get a chance to practice honesty and empathy with each other and to do the actual practices that I'll be offering you today. And so we'll start with a small group in just a few minutes after a self-connection exercise. But if you want to put a number in front of your name, either the equal sign, like might see somebody has an equal sign in front of their name. That means you don't want to go to a small group. And that's absolutely fine. Some people can't go to a small group because they're in their car, or they're getting ready for the day or whatever, and that's perfectly okay. If you put a 2 in front of your name, that lets me know that you'd like to be in a group of 2, and 3 lets me know you'd like to be in a group of 3. So for the first one, we'll just I've already got most of the groups already made, so you're stuck with whatever you got. But for the second group and the other practice today, we will you'll have a chance to express your preference about what you'd like.
And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I just wanted to see your faces, and I'm glad you're there, and I'm too tired to stay, but have fun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I
Hi,
hope you.
Tori.
Bye bye. I
Have a
hope you
good
sleep
time.
well.
Good to
Good.
see you too, Tori.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, unless there's anything up for anybody, we will start with a self-connection exercise. Okay, not seeing any responses or questions. We'll just go ahead and do that. So just start by noticing that you're breathing. Hopefully you're breathing, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Just notice the breath. I like focusing on the breath as a part of self-connection because it's a way of connecting to the purpose of NVC, which is compassionate giving and receiving. Each breath is a gift that we receive. And each time we exhale, we're giving a gift. Giving a gift to all the plants that enjoy the carbon dioxide that we don't need. And then they take that in and do what they do and send out the oxygen to us. Part of an interdependent system. And then if your eyes are closed or if they're open, it doesn't matter, but just listen for a moment. Doesn't take any effort to listen. In fact, if there's any effort involved, you can just relax it, soften, let go of any effort, and just allow yourself to listen to the sounds in your environment. And if you're like most of the people I've met, after about 10 seconds or so of just enjoying the silence, you're likely to become aware of thoughts. That's okay. That's just part of being human. That's the way we are designed to be thinking creatures. But just notice that thinking is different than listening to the environment, sounds in the environment, but that you, the listener, are present for both. That you have this observing presence. Maybe even more accurate to say that you are this observing presence. You can be aware of all 5 senses. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, taste, and touch. You can also observe all kinds of things in your mind, thoughts, images, memories, fantasies, plans. And we're more than that as well. We're also feeling organisms. We can notice what's going on in the body. So just notice what's going on in your body. What sensations are you aware of? What emotions are you aware of? Now, notice that if I were to ask you again now the same question, what sensations are you aware of? It would be different, that it's like a constantly changing experience that we have of different sensations, different emotions arising in our experience. And yet you're there just to be present and notice it, to pay attention to it or not. And you can just oscillate or shift back and forth between what you see in the world or hear, what you notice in your mind, what you notice in your body. You can just go back and forth through those different channels of your own experience. And there's one more channel to tune into, that's your heart. The heart is a metaphor for your needs, your values, things that are most precious to you. So what's important to you right now? And then you can shift again between what you're observing, what you're observing in the world, what you're observing in your mind, what you're feeling in your body, what you're needing in your heart. This kind of self-awareness is available 24/7, anytime you would like to connect with yourself. This is how you answer the question, what's alive? What's alive in me? What am I noticing, feeling, needing? And from that place of being more fully connected with yourself, you can choose what would make your life wonderful from now on. If you notice some pain, that means simply that a need of yours is crying for attention. What might you do to support yourself in getting that need met? That's what we call a request. Or maybe what you notice is a sense of celebration. There's no pain. And maybe the request is, how would you like to share this celebration with somebody else? What's your request? So I've managed to make some small groups just for a check-in. And the check-in, it'll just be about 10 minutes where you'll be with some friends. You might meet some new people. There might be people there that you haven't met yet. And the idea is that you would just introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name's Jim. I live in Maui. And right now I'm feeling curious about what we'll be doing today in this group or whatever's alive in you. And then if there's some requests that have arisen in you, you can share that with the other people in your group. Everybody have about 2 or 3 minutes to check in. You can certainly do more than one round if you want to. It's really just a chance to hang out, to just be with other human beings. So if you put an equal sign in front of your name or let me know otherwise that you're just listening, then you won't be going to a group. And you'll be hanging out with me here. And so here we go. See you back here in 10 minutes. Oh, when the group ends, you'll get a little notification on your screen. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to push any buttons. You can just sit on your hands and the groups will automatically close when they're finished. There'll be 1 extra minute for you to finish up there at the end. Okay, see you back here real soon. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. We had our own little small group here and had a chance to connect. I hope you all had a chance to connect. If there's anybody who would like to say anything to the large group, you can let me know. You can raise your hand by, there's a little button on the bottom of your screen that says reactions. And if you click on that little smiley face, you can do what Isabel just did. And you can raise your hand and then everybody can see that you'd like to talk. And I can say, please, Isabel, go ahead.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to thank you for going the extra mile and accommodating our needs in terms of 2 people, 3 people, especially when you don't even have Jory to assist you. You know, it must be a lot of work, you guiding us through the meditation, and then I don't even know how you managed to do it without sound is scattered. You managed to put us into 2 and 3. And I also want to report to you that I had a lovely session with 2 new friends. Wonderful to connect. So my heart is full of joy, connection, my need met, and sharing the reality was met. So again, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for thanking me. I have a lot of fun with this group. It's the highlight of the week for me. And I've managed to figure out how to do things with relative ease to make the groups and stuff. I keep learning. You know, back in college, I was a disc jockey, and so I learned a lot about how to do more than one thing at a time. And so maybe those same skills are helping me now. And this is what my disc jockey voice used to sound like. I used to talk very, very low and get very close to the microphone. And it created
Wow.
this. Yeah.
Wow.
Do that again. Wow.
Oh, you like that, do you? Yeah.
Lovely.
I even had my own radio personality, and this is my name was Ernest Lee Pius, and so it's a bit of a pun. Earnestly means, you know, with a lot of sincerity, and pious means, you know, spiritual,
Good.
religious, or holy, or something like that. So that was my radio name, Ernest Lee Pius. I had a lot of fun. But now I do this. You guys are my this is much more interactive than a radio show. We make our own music here. Anybody else want to share anything about anything you're celebrating about your NVC practice, or any questions that you have about what we've done over the last few weeks? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity in this space. I just wanted to express gratitude because seeing you and Jory together and just a few words of kindness and the knowledge that I would be able to kind of sit with what's going on inside of me and be present in my body, that really helped me to touch on some grief and to release some sadness and grief. And so I'm just grateful for this group and your leadership. So thank you.
You're welcome, Jeff. Yeah. Making space for whatever feeling is arising seems like a very important part of nonviolent communication. Anybody else like to be heard before we move into practice? There'll be more chances, so we'll go ahead and get started. So this class today is called Expressing What's Alive, and it's a part of a series that we started about six weeks ago or so, covering the 9 skills for navigating conflict and peace, which is the subject of the new book that I'm writing and editing right now. So you guys are actually helping me to clarify some of the stuff that's in the book and clarify the practices that will be in the book. So I appreciate your help and your feedback as we do that. And over the course of the time, we'll finish filling in all these blanks on that you see on the screen there. There'll be a total of 9 skills, excuse me, that we'll be covering. And each week we've been talking a little bit about each of the skills. And just so you know, in case you haven't been here before, I'll briefly touch on what each of these words means, and then we'll dive into the rest of the subject for today. So in the center of the screen, you see this thing called the 0 step. And the 0 step is not something that Marshall ever mentioned, Marshall Rosenberg being the founder of nonviolent communication. It was a concept that I learned from the very first NVC practice group that Jory and I went to after we met Marshall in the year 2000. And the 0 step just refers to some very key elements of nonviolent communication that Marshall did talk about. One is the intention of nonviolent communication, which is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. Or a shortcut version would be to make life wonderful. So that's the intention. And attention in NVC is on the present moment. So in a way, everything about nonviolent communication is designed to cultivate presence, to actually be present with what's happening right here, right now. When we do that, when we pay attention to what's happening right here and right now, and we're clear on our intention to connect, then some magic emerges from that. The effect of that is openness to outcome, a massive reduction in demand energy, kind of a relaxation of and a willingness to flow with what's happening in our lives from moment to moment. So that's what we mean by the 0 step. It's our natural state. If you think about being with a brand new baby that's just been born, the baby's born into 0. Children spend most of their time in the 0 step. And then as we get educated, we become more and more, as we become more and more focused on ourselves and get educated by by various things in our culture, we might lose access to that 0 step, but it's always there. And so NVC is kind of a way to get back to 0, if you will. And one way we do that is through self-empathy. Self-empathy just refers to what we did there at the very beginning of the call, when we practice noticing what's going on in us. We noticed our observations, our feelings, our needs, and our requests. And that has a tendency to bring us back towards this state of clarity about our intention, presence, and openness to outcome. Sometimes we need support from others, or we want to provide support to others, and that's what we call empathy. Empathy is the listening part of nonviolent communication, where we open our heart in order to receive the feelings and needs and observations and requests of somebody else. So these are some of the grounding tools: self-empathy, empathy, and 0 step. The other really important grounding tool is gratitude. Gratitude is the state when we appreciate what is in our lives, where we notice the needs that are satisfied from moment to moment and celebrate it. And that can be a way of also helping us to move back into 0. Once we're in zero, we have the opportunity to move into dialogue with other people. And so that's what we're
Down,
gonna,
Marty, down.
oops. I think I got it. That's what we're going to continue to practice today. We've been kind of doing some preliminaries, getting ready for this practice. Last week we covered, a couple weeks ago, we covered inviting, which is this idea of if we want to have a conversation that really matters with somebody, we would invite them to it rather than, and make sure that it's going to work for them. And we went through several different kinds of skills that can support us in having that kind of warmth and invitational energy before we involve ourselves in a dialogue. And then last week we focused on another kind of a request called a feedback request, which is, like I say, something that's important to me. And then I end on a clear and present request to find out then what's important to you. And it would sound something like, when you hear me say that, how do you feel? What comes up for you? And then when I make that request, then I coach myself to then move into empathy, to be willing to receive whatever the other person says. And I'm learning and training myself to pay attention, not to what the other person thinks, but rather to pay attention to what they're feeling and what they're needing, because that's much more likely to cultivate the sense of connection that I'm intending to do when I'm practicing NVC. So let me just pause there and see if there's any questions about that brief overview. Okay, then no questions. We'll keep going. If questions arise, just let me know. So this week, we're going to move into expressing what's alive. And we'll practice in the same way that we practiced last week with this beginning question that where you consider a conversation that you'd like to have with somebody else, so that you're practicing with something that's practical in your own life. Now, for practice, we recommend that you choose a conversation that's at a relatively low level of intensity. In other words, something where you can stay present and enjoy the practice, where you're less likely to get kind of caught up in a lot of strong emotion, so that you can just stay focused on the various skills that we'll be using. So consider a conversation you'd like to have, and then figure out what the topic is and who you want to have it with and why you want to have it. So I'll be quiet for a few minutes while you consider that and make some notes for yourself. If anybody wants to share their observation, this is called an observation, by the way. something that we will work with, you can do that in the chat. And in a minute, after we go through a little bit of the lesson, I'll invite somebody to do a role play with me. So you can decide if you'd like to be the role player today. We'll practice together. So we'll come back after a few more minutes and check in to see what the possible topics are. Nobody has one, I'll make one up. I got a million of them. Okay, so I asked a really important question as part of that setup. Why do you want to talk? We usually don't consider this question. We usually just kind of, at least I'm just can only talk about myself. I usually notice I'm talking. And then only later, or with a little bit of self-reflection, do I take the time to connect with what needs I'm hoping to meet by talking. And so for the purpose of the exercise, especially when communication really matters, it's really important to consider what the motivation is for the talk. Because certain motivations are much more likely to lead to a sense of connection than others. So we worked on this a little bit last week, so I'll go through some of the things that we came up with. Sometimes we want to talk to be seen. In other words, to have our existence acknowledged by another person. And the request that we're going to be working on today is perfect for helping to contribute to that need. Likewise, with to be understood. Sometimes we're motivated to open our mouths and because we really want to be understood about something that matters to us. Could be something emotional that we're wanting to talk about, could be something intellectual, could be something spiritual, could be a lot of different topics, but the need underneath them is to be understood, have a sense of mutual understanding. Sometimes we talk to just have a sense of connection. We human beings, that's actually almost what defines us as humans, is we are connecting animals. We will die if isolated. If you want to torture someone, put them into solitary confinement. It's truly a torture because human beings crave connection. It's actually, we exist only in relation to others. Another thing that might motivate us to talk is to discover something about another person. So we might get really curious about what their needs are. So this happens a lot in conflict. Our partner, our business partner, or our kid, or our parent, or our neighbor is behaving in a way that we're puzzled by, and we don't quite get what their needs are. And we've been making empathy guesses, maybe silently, but only through conversation. Maybe we think that if we can converse with the other person, we can get clearer on their needs. Sometimes we open up a conversation because we want support. There's some need that we're trying to get met, and we need to collaborate. We need to cooperate with somebody else in order to get those needs met. That could be something as simple as how we're going to get the house clean before company comes over, or how are we going to support people in our town that suddenly don't have access to water, like just happened in the United States in Jackson, Mississippi. We need to have conversations in order to gain support, in order to contribute to needs. And that leads right to another reason that we often want to talk, is because we want another person to do something. We have a clear and present request for some sort of cooperative behavior or action that the other person could take that might support us in getting our needs met. I'll just pause here again and see if somebody's got any questions or any other reasons that might motivate you to have a conversation that matters. Yeah, Monica, go ahead.
Would you be willing to put that back up? I wanted to take a screenshot. Please.
Sure. Yes.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything you think we should add to this list or could add to it?
I've got one.
Okay, what's that?
To express appreciation.
Yeah, beautiful. To express appreciation, to celebrate with somebody else. Thank you. Madeline?
Hi, I am not sure if this is appropriate, but the example that I came up with was communicating to a friend that I'm gonna change plans to cancel a plan with them.
Mhm.
So I don't know what that classification would be.
Yeah.
But
Sounds like maybe it has to do with clarity.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Clarity and maybe some understanding of the needs for changing the plans. Maybe
Yep.
there's another need for like collaboration. I'm not saying this is true in your case, but sometimes I want to change plans with somebody, but I want to re-engage at another time. And so maybe it's a little kind of a collaborative intention. Yeah,
That's
Donna.
actually a huge help to me. Thanks.
Sure, Donna.
Yeah, I'm always surprised how my body reacts to something, and just right now I feel like my heart beats in my chest and my stomach and my head. It's like, ah, like, wow, what are you telling me? Why are you so scared? I'm asking myself and my heart, why are you so scared?
Mm.
Just wanted to be seen
Yeah.
by myself, first of all.
Yeah.
And what I want to, it's like, I want to ask, and at the same time, I want to share my space of paradox. So this idea of false, so-called false feelings, when I say I feel misunderstood or I feel mistreated, so how I distinguish between my own feelings and this thought plus kind of feeling is that there's the other person who I think does something to me. So they misunderstand me or they mistreat me. So, okay, this is clear. But then when I come to this expression of I want to be seen, I want to be understood, there is the other person again. And so this is a feeling that is not really feeling, and this is a need. It's like this paradox of I want to have like this clear distinction that this is the need that is in me, but then I see that there is the other person who kind of need, if they give it to me, this understanding, then I feel understood.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this blurry territory of where am I and where are they and how we connected. And yeah, this is just how I wondering about all of this. I don't know if it makes sense and or if it sounds familiar or.
It does sound familiar. Let me tell you what I'm hearing and make sure that I've got you. That your experience is that sometimes these things that we call needs really are as much as you understand kind of the inside part of a need, that sometimes it really requires somebody else outside in order to contribute to your need getting met. There's a relational quality to certain needs. Is that right?
It seems like it is. And at
Yeah.
the same time, when I go to the territory of feelings, it seems like we need to be kind of clear, not to involve other people and get be responsible for our own feelings.
Yeah.
Right. This is just like, when do I include and when do I exclude, and when am I on my own? And yeah, it's just
Yeah, I
interesting
catch the
exploration.
confusion, and I think there's a lot of confusion in the NVC land about this. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying what works for me. And here's what it is: that some needs are relational. How could I have a need to be understood that didn't involve somebody else? Well, I could understand myself, but that just sounds kind of weird, at least in English. It just seems weird. Of course, I understand myself. I might be temporarily confused and I have a need for understanding, but to be understood is relational. But what makes it a need rather than a strategy is when I don't require any specific person to meet the need to be understood. So if I tell myself that the only person in the world that I want to understand me is Jory, and Jory is in Florida asleep, well, I'm going to suffer. But if I can see that I can get my need for understanding met with you, Donna, or Rena, or Jerome, or anybody else on the call, then I'm back into the realm of needs again. Because as Marshall defined a need makes no reference to a specific person doing a specific thing. It doesn't say anything at all about other people not being involved in needs. Some needs are exquisitely relational. Some are much more just intrinsic. Like, so that's one way that I look at it. So I'll just pause here and see what comes up for you when you hear that, Donna.
There was a reaction when, like, I noticed the reaction when you said that I cannot be understood by myself. Whereas in my experience, there was really loud in me, like, oh, yes, I can. I'm like, okay, I hear you, yes, you can. So yeah, so the need is this longing for understanding, which doesn't have to be specifically attached to anyone. So in this case, it helps it to be in the territory of needs. This is how I see it now after your words.
Yeah, that's how I hold it. And the other thing that I'm working on is to not see anybody as an other. So in other words about othering. So like right now, it appears that I'm me and I'm talking to you. But at another level, we're all breathing the same air. Even though you're in Korea and I'm in Maui and we're, I don't know, 12,000 miles away from each other right now, we're really on the same planet. There's just one thing happening here. And so your needs are my needs, and my needs are your needs. In fact, the more I practice NVC, the less I need the pronouns. There's just needs that I want to contribute to. So that's the other way I work with it. So understanding is a need that we have. It's not my need. It's just a need that human beings have. And then we can contribute. Strategies are the how that we contribute to all the needs. And needs are the why, the motivating factor. And so like right now, I wouldn't be doing this class unless I had a need, unless there was a need for learning and contribution. If you guys didn't show up, I'd be talking to myself. So of course it's relational. I can't really contribute to this need for learning unless maybe a few people show up and we hang out together, and we can learn together. So it seems to me that needs by their nature are impersonal and relational at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. it doesn't, because I'm sure what you mean and how you experience it's quite different from how I experience it, again, from my prism of life. But I just listening to you, I appreciate this sense of expansion, that like you're part of me, maybe that I don't know yet, was from somewhere, from somehow. Yeah, my body enjoys it a lot, this expansive sense of we are.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Donna. Rena.
Yeah, that question, why do I want to talk? It's really brought me to the zero step. And, what's my intention? What am I paying attention to? And more than that, the openness to outcome, and the need that, the deeper level need was for closure and mutual care, because there are journeys that we have together, and there comes a time when, some kind of the effort to keep up that journey together seems, like there are more unmet needs at either or both levels. So I'm at this moment looking at all this as my observations, and why do I want to talk is, above all, to have care and curiosity, and also access that choice to kind of move into that individual space with a sense of oneness.
Mhm.
And that oneness could be for a shared purpose, a shared vision.
Mhm.
So to keep that, to hold that as precious, and let go of this, attachment to a certain way.
Yeah.
So yes, it helped me to go to the layers and look at closure as an important, milestone.
Yeah. Yes.
With care, with mutual care.
Closure with
And when I say mutual, and when I say mutual, there's a bit like tightness there. and because I'm also, reminded of the zero step, it's like openness to outcome.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You were saying something, Jim.
No, I was just waiting and reflecting, but I do sense that I guess I want to name that last time I checked, there were 7.6 billion people on the planet. And so, and then I have, I don't know, a certain number of breaths that I'll get to enjoy while I'm here. And I want to breathe the same air with people that I have fun with. So I really want to acknowledge everybody's choice to choose to the best of your ability who to hang out with, and hang out with people that you enjoy and that are safe and fun and so forth. And sometimes we need to have difficult conversations to say goodbye. And sometimes we can just say goodbye without saying goodbye. We just need to go. That's also okay. There's no, as far as I can tell, there's no right or wrong or good or bad when it comes to how we navigate this. According to some research,
And Jim,
go ahead.
You're saying that it's okay to just go without saying goodbye?
Might be.
Touched me very deeply.
Yeah.
And opened up space to say goodbye.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the most life-serving choice, especially if there's a situation where there's imminent harm or ongoing harm. You go with the openness to then maybe reconnect when it's safe, or in a safe with help, with a mediator or with a counselor or a therapist or a doctor or whatever. If another need arises for connection around the closure. Thanks, Rena. Sarah Joy?
I was just going to say I really appreciated Dana's question because sometimes I'm in a group where there are people who know a lot of MVC and they jump on people who have faux feelings. And I think all feelings, whether they're faux feelings or not, are feelings. And I just personally feel like that feelings can point me toward my needs. So if I'm having a faux feeling, like I feel like I'm misunderstood, then I can look at that feeling just like I could look at another feeling if I'm feeling sad, and then try and ask myself what need is that pointing to?
Yeah.
And I'm, if I guess I don't know the situation that Dana was in particularly for that particular one, but sometimes I might be misunderstood in a situation where I don't know enough technology and people say, oh, that's easy, that's fast, you just can do this. And that might be so for them, but not for me.
Right.
And so I could say to myself, I feel misunderstood. They think I'm not doing it fast enough, or they think I don't know it, or it's just that I haven't learned it yet. And so, and I may never be as fast as the younger generation who grew up pushing buttons. And so I might feel a need for empathy on that. I'd like some empathy around that. And that faux feeling helped me get there.
Absolutely.
So I just wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah. I believe this distinction around faux feelings, this was not Marshall's distinction. But Marshall was present, as far as I know, when it was first starting to get talked about. And the idea here, if this is new for other people who you don't know what we're talking about, there's this idea that there is this very important distinction in VC between a feeling and a thought. So feelings, the way that I hold it, feelings are of the body. You get to your feelings through sensations and emotions. So those are what Marshall called feelings. And then this other stuff that happens, like memories, fantasies, judgments, all these kinds of thoughts, that's of the head, so to speak. And so distinctions are built on dividing things into pieces. There's the body, and then there's the mind. And that's okay. That's really great for learning, because what I learned from Marshall and other NVC trainers that I had the pleasure to study with is that connection is more likely to happen if we focus on feelings and needs. And disconnection might be more likely to happen if we focus on thoughts. If you tell me you feel happy, how could I argue with that? You're talking about your own subjective experience. So that's profoundly connecting when you're willing to share your feelings with me. But if you tell me that you think the only way to be happy is to go to a baseball game or whatever the strategy is, well, that's obviously a thought. I might have other strategies that I prefer to contribute to happiness. And so we could fight about strategies. So I believe that's where the original, the original distinction came up. I think it's been harmful to the NVC community to have this idea of faux feelings. I don't teach it. I just teach there's feelings and there's thoughts, and that both are avenues for empathic connection. So if Sarah Joy would never do this, but if Sarah Joy said, Jim, I think you talk way too much in this practice group, and she told me what she thought, if I had my NVC ears on, I couldn't hear it. I could only hear that she wants maybe more time to practice, or she wants more of a chance to be heard herself. I would only be hearing what she needs, not what she thinks. But her sharing her thought with me, even if she told me she felt betrayed by me or misunderstood by me, that's such a raw and intimate expression that I want to open my heart and hear the feelings and needs underneath it. I am never going to correct anybody for telling me that they think what they think instead of what they feel. it seems that's like, why would I open my mouth to do that? That's what's not on the list of why do I open my mouth, which is to convince or to correct. Those might be valid intentions for opening your mouth, but not in NVC land. If you're trying to teach somebody math or how to work a computer or some kind of other kind of a skill set, maybe, but not with NVC. It's not about correction, it's about connection. How does that sound to you, Sarah Joy?
I think that sounds really clear and compassionate. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. Corey, and then we need to move to practice. We don't need to, but I'd like to. Corey?
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that, Jim, about what you just shared. Because I have felt sad at times with the disconnection that comes up around. There's a lot of confusion, actually. I think that when people will say what you probably would consider a thought, but our culture uses that language all the time, and it's normal. And so if somebody says, "Oh wow, I'm just so pissed off, and I felt so intimidated," and blah blah blah. And the first problem is when people interrupt to correct, and somebody is really obviously needing empathy in that moment, right? If somebody said that, they're having an intense upset. And for me to stop and correct them is just like, and but the second thing is what I found useful, and I wonder if you ever do this. So I first of all, I wouldn't correct, I would just empathize. But I might say at some point, so I'm curious when you say, you're feeling really intimidated, is that more like, does that feel in your body more like anger, or is it more like fear, or could you say a little bit more about that? And that's how I kind of direct it without any intention to correct, but to get more clarity. And I wonder how that lands for you, Jim.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be the best strategy, I imagine. And I'm sure I do that. And I like guessing better than quizzing. And here's why. If I ask somebody how, what they feel or to say more about something, I actually like that one. Say more about that, because then that gives me a chance to deepen into the connection. But if I ask somebody how they feel, then it's likely more likely that they will go up into their head and try to figure out what they feel rather than going to their body. But if I say, are you angry? Then they have to go to their body to check, not to their mind. Are you sad? So if I make a guess about a feeling or a need, then that's, in my experience, it tends to help people to stay with their body-based experience rather than go up into their head and analyze themselves. But both can work. There's no right way or no wrong way. It's just what helps to connect from moment to moment. Does that make sense, Corey?
Yeah, it does actually. And I like the clarity of it. Sounds like your intention is just to stay with the feelings and help them move deeper into the feelings. So it's not about me getting my need met, like I wonder what they mean by intimidated. It's about just helping them go deeper into the feelings. And it's very simple too. I like that. Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Bye, Tomoko. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's go back into practice. So there's time. So the reason that we spend all this time focusing on purpose is because it's going to help us get to the request. If we know what the need is, then it's going to help us in figuring out what request will most be useful in terms of creating the quality of connection that we would like from moment to moment. Last week, we worked on that request called a feedback request. which is very simple. It's very common, very easy to practice. And we had a nice practice with it last week, and you probably hopefully practiced it over and over again all week. Basically, you listen, you express what's open, what's alive in you. You know, you say what you would like to say, and then you ask the other person for feedback about how they respond to whatever you asked, or whatever you said, I mean. And so we want to hear the feedback from the other person. And that can lead to contributing to needs like mutual understanding, connection, collaboration, cooperation, and so forth. Today, we're going to work on a different kind of a request called a confirmation request. So now, the needs that might be alive if you're going to make this request is if you want to make sure that you've been clear in expressing yourself. That's number one. Because when we get into emotional content, sometimes I get really full of words and I wind around, and it's hard for me to get to the point, especially because maybe I'm not used to talking about my feelings or touching my feelings. And so I probably use more words than the other person is enjoying hearing. So I just want to make sure that I got my point across. Sometimes I might just want to make sure that I've been understood, or I just want to have my feelings acknowledged. So all this is in support of some other precious needs like clarity, empathy, connection, and more. The important thing, one important thing about this particular request is it's not a quiz of the other person. So if I tell you what my feelings and needs are, and then I ask for you to reflect what you heard was important to me, I'm not testing you to make sure you heard right. I'm testing me. I'm wanting to make sure I was clear in what I said. So this request is about making sure that message sent was message received. That's the easiest way to say it. Now, if you guys were going to go out tonight to dinner at a restaurant or a pizza joint or something like that, and what you wanted to order was kind of complicated, you know, maybe you want half a pizza with this ingredient and a quarter of it with that ingredient and another quarter of it with two other ingredients. It's very natural to ask the waiter or the server to say, what did you hear as my order? In fact, a well-trained waiter will empathize with your request before you even make it. And they'll say, let me make sure I got that. But we're not very well trained to do that in everyday life. So we may be motivated in some situations to ask the other person to tell us what they heard us say. So that's what we mean by requesting confirmation. Any questions? Go ahead, Nikhilananda.
Thank you, Jim. It's not a question, it's a common observation. It reminded me of the phraseology that, in fact, today I got a private chat. Someone said, what did you mean when you said blah, blah, blah? And I wrote back, gee, I don't remember saying that, if I did say it. It's when someone says, you said, rather than I heard you say. And I've been for years attempting to be aware and sensitive to that, because I can speak in riddles and people don't necessarily understand the specific I was saying. So thank you for pointing that out. When you just said, and I wrote it down, message sent is message received. That's really powerful. Yeah. That we often have miscommunications because what one says was not heard the same way by the other person who was receiving it. So thank you for that comment. I actually like the way you said it.
You're welcome. So let's find out what some of these conversations are that somebody would like to have with somebody. We'll play with one right now. So if you'd like to practice for just a minute and tell us not, you don't have to name names, but you want to talk to a neighbor or a friend or a kid or a parent about such and such a topic. Who's got something that you'd like to practice with? And you won't have to be yourself. You get to have the easy job. I'll play the hard job. And we'll demonstrate this request. Okay. Patricia.
Okay, I was thinking of starting a meeting in one of my fellowships, and I asked we have a Facebook group, and in there I asked if they knew anyone with these qualifications that I was looking for. And I told the woman why I was looking, because I was considering starting a meeting for that subset of individuals. And she said, do it. And that is the observation.
Okay. And you want to talk to this person about that?
Yeah, I had a hard time with that. I would have liked to have been able to talk about I don't know if I have the right intention. Like I want to express myself and say that was really hard for me to hear.
Mhm.
Or I feel frustrated or something like that. But sometimes I don't know if that's the only reason why I want to say it, then maybe that's not enough.
I think for practice today, it's enough. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to play you, and you get to play the other person. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen, so I show people where I am in the process. So these are all the 9 skills, and I'm just going to focus on a couple of them during this practice. But I will point my little pointer at where we are, in the practice. So first I check, am I in 0? Yeah, I am. I want to connect with Patricia, and I don't think right now I have an outcome in mind other than connection, and I'm open to find out what happens. So I'm going to invite the conversation. So Patricia, something's sticking in my mind about a conversation that we had the other day, and I wonder if you would be willing to talk to me about it for a minute.
Sure. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I appreciate that you're willing to talk about it, but you might recall that the other day I was, asking you for feedback about whether or not to follow a particular strategy. And what I heard you say was just do it. And that was a bit of a jolt to my nervous system. And it was like, I think at the heart of it, I felt kind of shocked. And I think what was important for me was to have more of a dialogue, more of a sense of connection with you. Like I really wanted to do it together. So what are you hearing is important to me?
That you wanted more, you wanted more dialogue around what we were talking about. You wanted more connection and more dialogue around that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly right. Yeah. So how do you feel when you hear me say that?
Worried. I'm worried that I did something that yeah, I'm worried. Jim, I don't know whether to play a normal person or myself. Uh,
Did I say
I'm
tell
just
Patricia
worried
you
that I
want to?
hurt you.
Yeah, 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 I get it. Yeah, I think I understand that you really care about our relationship and you care about me and you wouldn't want to do anything that caused harm. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That is totally right. I don't want to hurt you in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I hear you say that, I have a sense of this is really what I want. This is exactly the kind of collaboration and connection that was really meaningful for me. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much for taking these few minutes to talk about it with me.
Yeah.
Is there anything left for you to say?
No, I'm just grateful that you felt comfortable enough to bring that up with me. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Patricia. How was that for you?
I got caught in my own. Yeah, it was fine. I just had to role play a little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these role plays are real, aren't they? They really get us right. They're living inside of us. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable and practicing with me.
Yeah, thanks for offering.
So did you guys catch the confirmation request that I made? Yeah, it was very early in the conversation, and I asked her, what did you hear was important to me? Something like that. So that's what you're going to get to go practice now. So some of the groups are 2, some of the groups are 3. We'll have about 12, 13, well, let's see here. We'll extend the practice a little bit so there's more time to practice. And then we'll have less time for debrief, but that's okay. So the idea here is that one person will express some honesty. Just do the best you can to express your honesty. Talk about what you're feeling and what you're needing. Maybe keep it relatively brief so that the other person can stay with you. And then at the end, say your version of a connection request that is asking for confirmation. Your version of what did you hear was important to me. If you want to use mine, that's fine, just for practice. Eventually, you'll come up with your own that are more in alignment with your culture, the way that you talk in your family or business or whatever. But the idea is that you just want to make sure that message sent was message received. And then you go to empathy. You just listen and find out what they heard. And if they reflect back what you intended to say, then you say thank you. It's as simple as that. Then you'd move on to the next person. If they don't, then you say, well, let me try again. What I'd really like you to get, and then this time you might have to use different words or make it a little bit shorter. So if the other person doesn't get it, that's fine. It's your chance to refine and go for clarity and then make another confirmation request. What are you hearing is important to me? See if everybody in the circle can get a chance to practice at least one round like that. And then if there's time, then you could extend it out a little bit, especially if some of the groups are 2. So then you could also practice feedback requests like I did with Patricia as well. First request being for confirmation, second request being for feedback. Okay. And so let me reset the timer here for 14 minutes. And so I'll be back here in 15 minutes. See you then. If you need any help, just call for help. I'll come and visit you. I see you, Siva. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the practice. You probably have questions. One question that came up while you were gone, I'll answer it here as best as I can, is how about what happens in the real world, Jim? You know, I'm practicing NVC in the real world, and nobody else knows NVC, and so I do my best. I make an empathy guess for somebody. Maybe I say, "Oh, are you feeling tired?" And they say, "I think you're judging me." You know, so you don't get back a confirmation of your empathy. You get back something that sounds like the person's irritation. So what do you do in a situation like that? Well, one thing I've learned as an NVC trainer is that my job's really easy because the answer is always the same to these puzzles. You always have three choices. You can go to self-empathy, you can go to empathy, or you can go to honesty. And so if you're going to practice NVC, those are the only three choices you always have from moment to moment. So somebody says, I'll make it even more extreme. Don't give me that NVC crap, right? If you practice NVC long enough, you're going to get that somebody. Don't give me psychobabble. Don't psychoanalyze me, something like that. So if I'm going to practice self-empathy with that, these are giraffe ears on. These are giraffe ears that we use as a symbol for nonviolent communication sometimes. So I put my giraffe ears on and I put them on facing inward. And I say, okay, wow, this is all inside. Nobody else hears this. It's self-empathy. Wow, that was rough. Can't they see that I'm just trying to help? Don't they see that I'm actually doing the best I can to create connection and compassion here? Why can't they see what my positive intention is? I'm so frustrated and annoyed. I really want to be seen for that I'm just trying to love them. I'm just trying to empathize with them. Okay. So self-empathy is just walking myself back to some sense of being more grounded, calming my nervous system, being clearer. Then I could practice empathy. So the person says, don't give me that NVC crap. I can make an empathy guess about that. It's like, this is a whole new observation. Whatever we started with, that's gone. Now we have a whole new moment. Person said, so now the observation I'm responding to is this new fresh one. Don't give me that NVC crap. Oh, are you really feeling frustrated because you really want to have kind of an authentic connection that doesn't sound like jargon, something like that? Or you just want to talk normally? Or you don't like it when I make these guesses? Or you want me to just be quiet? You just make some guess and use your own language. You're empathizing with what you think their wish is. What's their wish? What's their desire? What's their need? And you never have to use the need word. You can always use common language. You know you're talking about needs. They don't need to know that. Excuse me. Or you can go to your honesty. And you could, if you're going to say your honesty, then you already know, you know why you're opening your mouth, right? So why am I going to open my mouth in response to this? Well, I'd like to be understood for my positive intention. Thank you for telling me what you heard. And I noticed that hearing that, it was a little bit rough for me. I'm just trying to listen to you, and I'm learning some new skills, and I know I'm not very good at it yet, but I really like you to see that I'm doing the best I can to connect with you. So could we try again? So that's NVC in what, 15 words? I said what I was feeling, what I was needing, and I made a clear and present request. Could we try it again? And then as soon as that happens, anytime you make a request, you put your giraffe ears on. And now you know whatever comes out next is the new observation. Now they might say something like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Or wow, what did you just do to me? Or There's more of that NVC crap. You don't know what they're going to say, but you're ready as long as you have these ears on. Now, sometimes you go to your honesty like this, but it's silent honesty. So you're just talking to yourself and you're actually speaking with your eyes. And that's actually an invitation. You're expressing your honesty energetically, and then you're ready to receive their response with empathy again. You're under no obligation to ever open your mouth. It's your choice, only if you sense it will lead to connection. Odile, you want to say something?
I'm just digesting all of it, Jim, but I'm so glad that we had this conversation. It's given me a lot to think about, and I'm definitely feeling heard. But I realize this is an ongoing learning process for me.
Yes. And the good news is that it's an ongoing learning process. And the bad news is it's never going to end. Or maybe that's the good news too. I've been practicing
Yeah.
since the year 2000, and I still learn something new every day.
Mhm.
So
I'm feeling grateful.
you're
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Juan?
Hey, Jim. Just want to talk about self-empathy because I notice sometimes when I do the self-empathy, the more I think that, the more I feel like I'm a victim, feel very sad, and have less capacity and feel like sad, could be getting more anger. It just cannot help to shift. If I do the empathy for others, might be help, but just because my self-empathy not there, did not get connect to myself, feel like empathy others still not enough. So I want to hear what's your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so what I catch is that sometimes you notice that your self-empathy doesn't give you a sense of relief. You don't have a sense of shift. You might even seem like you're feeling even more pain than when you started. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So for me, that's a signal of that I just need more empathy. Right? It just means or maybe there's another need other than empathy that needs to be met. Let's just say that let's say I'm hungry. I like to go to these basic raw physical needs sometimes to explain NVC. So I'm feeling hungry, and I could empathize with myself forever, and the self-empathy is never going to shift the feeling of hunger, because the need that's motivating the feeling of hunger has not been satisfied yet. You can't feed one need with a strategy that's designed to feed another need. So if my need is empathy and I try to fill myself up with food, that's not going to work either. So I want to match the need to the strategy. So if I need self-empathy, I'm using that just to get clear on the need and then to find out what the request is. Do I need to ask a friend for more support, more empathy? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to get some sleep? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to find some kind of self-care? There's lots of other needs that might also be alive that self-empathy is pointing to. So self-empathy is, I like what Kelly Bryson said. Kelly Bryson's another certified trainer, and he was talking about empathy, but it's also true for self-empathy. He said that empathy is like lotion that you put on your skin that is like soothing and a salve. And as you get more and more skillful, you'll reduce the amount of pressure and suffering. But honesty and requests is where the transformation happens. Empathy is never enough. Empathy is just lays the groundwork for a request. And that it's through the requests, through our honesty, that we work together, either with ourselves or with other people, to make life wonderful. So I'm worried that I used more words than you could take in. So what did you hear what's your takeaway from what I said, Shuwan?
I heard is with the self-empathy could connect to the different kind of needs. With the needs could come up there some strategy could meet our needs.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And sometimes self-empathy is a little bit like peeling back different layers. So you might get, as I empathize with myself, I might get connected to one layer of feelings and needs, but it might also bring up some judgments. And then I might need to pay attention to each of those judgments, moral judgments of right or wrong, good or bad, in order to find out what the need is underneath those judgments. And so self-empathy might take a while. That's why with the candidates that I work with, people that want to become certified trainers, why I recommend journaling. Journaling is a self-empathy practice. It helps you to take all your thoughts and feelings and needs and put them down onto paper so that you can have more clarity about what's going on. And that's been the most helpful thing for me as I developed my NVC self-empathy skills, was externalizing it, putting the self-empathy outside so that I could see it, either in a written journal or maybe a recorded journal or something like that. So that's another way that you can work with it, to kind of expose the judgments and then get clearer on the feelings and the needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I heard is through journaling is a way to help myself to find more deeper feelings and dig up more needs. Yeah, since yeah, I'm doing that, but I also appreciate your perspective, because I think from different perspective can give me new some exploration to help me to find out from a different way, because sometimes I feel helpless.
Yeah.
I probably found the needs, but I feel helpless to know what to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, I don't think you're alone there, Shuwan. I think every single person on this call, if I asked, would raise their hand that sometimes they feel helpless too, that they don't know how to get their needs met. If you already knew how to get your needs met in a reliable way, you wouldn't be on the call. None of us would be. We all need support in learning more about what our needs are. For most of us, probably all of us, none of us ever got training in our feelings and needs until recently. So some of us might be, I'm 66 years old. So I was in my 40s before I ever understood that I had needs. So I had 40 years of luggage to be unpacking. No wonder it's taking me a while. I'm still unpacking my luggage. So journaling is a great support. Also empathy buddies. That's why with candidates that we work with, we like to get them to pair up with each other. So I've got on average 3 empathy buddies a week. And those calls are anywhere from a half an hour to an hour long. And when I'm really feeling wealthy, emotionally wealthy, I have one every day. Why not? It's the gift that keeps on giving and receiving. So how about we pause here, Juan? Does that work for you?
Yes, I feel very grateful. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for your question. Sarah Joy writes in the chat, I'm wondering where mourning fits into the process. Is mourning a form of self-empathy? Yes. It's a bridge to moving to seeking empathy from a buddy. Could be. I always say that mourning is in the middle. It's always that we're mourning for as long as we need to soothe ourselves, to love ourselves, in order to find the energy to then find a request, some sort of a step we can take. It could be a step that has nothing to do with the initial need, like just taking a walk and clearing my head, taking a bath, taking a shower, taking a nap, whatever, going to bed. So let me do our end of the call kind of stuff. If you're not on our mailing list and you would like to be, I'll put the link in the chat. Feel free to share that link with anybody else that might enjoy benefiting from these classes. Each week we record the calls, and after a day or two they show up on this website. The links do. They're actually stored on YouTube. I believe there's over 50 calls now, maybe even 100, 15 recordings. So you can binge if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it. But if there's one particular topic that you're interested in, like mourning or self-empathy, you could probably find another class about that you could listen to other ideas about it, maybe get some insight. I wrote a book called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. Came out just about a year ago. You can buy it anywhere where books are sold. You can probably get it shipped to you for free by following that link at myinternationalshopping.com. My preference is that you order it from your local bookseller, like a mom and pop kind of bookstore, small business. Support the small business owners. Also suggest that you ask your public library, if you have one, to order a copy, or 10 or 50. We do all of the classes that we offer on a compassionate giving and receiving basis, which means that we give this to you as a gift. And if you'd like to give something back, you can do that. You can donate money directly to the Center for Nonviolent Communication if you would like. If you want to give money to Jory and me, you can use this link. You do not have to have a PayPal account to use that link. You can use your credit card or your own bank account. You can set up little monthly payments like some of you have done, like $15 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month, whatever, if you would like. We appreciate the support. Any money that we receive, we use to support our mission of making nonviolent communication available to anybody who wants it. And we focus our energy on places where NVC is less affordable than, or more expensive than people can really enjoy paying. So we try to provide scholarships for people. Next week, we will continue the practice, and we will talk a little bit more about requests, and especially action requests. We really haven't covered action requests yet. And so we'll cover action requests and hopefully move into more practice. Jory should be back if everything continues to go well in Florida. And then Corey's put a little a little note in the chat. John Kenyon is a colleague of ours that I also recommend his work. If you want to take his class on mediation and how to use mediation tools in everyday life, it's a great way of integrating nonviolent communication, getting comfortable with making these requests and so forth. If you have any feedback or requests, you can write to me at nvctrainer@gmail.com. Put that in the chat too. Somebody made a suggestion that I put the little slideshows on the website. I'll try to do that this week. I'll try to make a handout page and put a link into our weekly mailing, so you'll be able to easily get the handouts that we use. With that, I feel complete, and I will pause the recording here after everybody says goodbye. Then if you want to stay and go to a small group, feel free. And Steve, I saw your hand earlier, so I know you still might have a question live. If you do, I'd be happy to answer it. So aloha, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Bye. Good night.
Thank
night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Aloha.